Welcome to another Traveling with Terriers Top 5 with Tommy, Winston, and Louie. Today the boys will share their top 5 tips for when it's time to unhitch.
So today we're going to talk about unhitching our travel trailer when you get to a site.
Number 1.
The first step actually starts in the tow vehicle. And we want to make sure anytime that the trailer is attached to the tow vehicle that the parking brake is on. So that's what I just did to make sure that the parking brake is on.
Number 2.
All right, well, let's get started unhitching. When you pull into a site, there's a few things to check right off the bat, and we have a video for that right here. As far as positioning your RV within a site, especially with full hookups, the first thing to do is to level the trailer from side to side because you only get one chance at that. We want to make sure the bubble's in between the two lines. It is. We've already done this when we pulled in. If it wasn't, you can move forward and back and see if that helps at all, or you can use a variety of leveling tools. We have the Marriage Saver Anderson levelers, which just let you pull right up onto this curved little plastic thing. Make sure level side to side. And next, we're going to start working on a variety of things, but there's so much to do when you're unhitching, as you can see. And that's not all, actually. There's all this, but putting all that aside for now, let's just get started on a few of the most important things to do when unhitching, in my opinion, is to do those things. If you're traveling with a partner, with your spouse, let them get started on the inside. So I'm going to do everything that will help that process along. So that's the order we're going to unhitch.
Number 3
is what are the most important things for our partner to get started on the inside of the RV. These are leveling blocks, I think they're called, but I think they're made by Camco. They go under the tongue jack so that you don't have to let it run so far to the ground. It saves you some time extending the jack. If you don't have any kind of weight distribution or anti-sway hitch, then you really just undo your pin and lift your trailer off of the hitch. But in our case, there's a few more steps because we have this weight distribution and anti-sway setup. So we have to raise everything to get these bars loose to then bring everything down and then bring it up off the hitch. So that's what we're going to do right now. So to know how high to raise it, there's a lot of tension on there, so you can kind of kick that a little bit. And when it's loose, all of the tension is off. The higher you raise it, the easier it is to get the bars off. That moved quite a bit, so I think it's ready. It's still a little bit hard to get those off with just your hands, so there is a tool specifically for that. This is about the third one of these that we've owned, as I have forgotten to put them away a few times. I leave them sitting here and then suddenly they're gone after we go on our next trip. That one is free. I like to leverage my time as well, so instead of taking the other one off immediately, I'm going to undo the safety chain too. And the power, because the RV can run on the regular RV battery for a bit. See if this side is loose. Oh yeah, that's looser than the other side. Now we can take it back down, taking off the emergency brake, but there's a name for it. While I'm over here, I'm going to take off the emergency breakaway, which if the trailer were to become detached from the tow vehicle while you're riding, the trailer brakes would turn on automatically and lock so that it slows the trailer down and stops it on the highway. All right, so now the only thing that's connected to the truck and trailer is the hitch. So I'll take these bars off while I'm here. I'm actually just going to lay them and not lock them away or anything. They are pretty expensive. They're like $50 or $100 each, I can't remember. campground etiquette, you just really don't mess with other people's stuff, right? So that has served us well. Some areas of the country, I think people lock their stuff away more, but we've gotten lucky traveling the whole Midwest and through Canada and North Midwest, I guess. Yeah, Eastern Midwest and the South. We've gotten very lucky. We are just going to leave this stuff here and bring this back down. And what's happening now is all of the weight is going down onto this hitch instead of on these bars distributing the weight. They're kind of like a wheelbarrow where you lift the wheelbarrow arms and it puts the weight onto the front tire. This does the same thing. You lift these things lift the back of the truck and put some of the weight onto the front tires of the truck. You know that all of the weight is on the hitch when this starts to raise off of the leveling blocks. And you want that to happen because if you try to unhitch it, the hitch would drop out from underneath the trailer. I put a little bit of tension on the tongue jack and going to take off our hitch lock now. So although the parking brake is on, we don't actually want to unhitch yet until we put chocks on the tires so that the trailer doesn't roll away. We have these things called X chocks. One for each set of axles. So these work really well with dual axle travel trailers or RVs. But if you don't have dual axle, these are regular chocks. And they just go on each side of the tire, and that prevents the tires from moving back and forth and the trailer from moving back and forth. So we're not going to use those today. We're going to use the X chocks. It comes with its own ratchet wrench to tighten them down. The first one goes on this set of tires. And what happens is they expand, so they put pressure on the tire sideways, and that's how it stops it from rolling. As I crank it down, it's getting wider. Okay, other side.
Number 4.
Unhitching is a lot of work, but it is part of the process, so it's better just to embrace that and make it part of the experience. That's what you have to tell yourself, especially if you're doing this multiple days and nights in a row, because you're traveling short distances frequently. It's just part of the experience.
And number 5.
It's important to really be following probably a written checklist at first, but then when you've done it enough times, you'll just have a mental checklist that you can go over in your mind and make sure you're getting everything done. Chocks are set. Those wheels will not go anywhere. I do a lot with disaster recovery with my job, so I'm gonna go a little overboard here and just put some regular chocks on too. These wheels are definitely not going anywhere. Okay. It's time to actually detach the trailer from the tow vehicle. So in theory, especially if the ball is greased really nicely, what's happening is this should just be raising off of the ball, but sometimes there's a little lip and it may be holding on to the ball. So it's pulling the truck up. At some point, gravity is gonna just pull it out and it's gonna grrr. So you can do a few things. One thing is once you've raised it a bit, you can back the truck up just a touch and that's going to release the pressure on this. Or you can do the Danny method and just jump on the back of the truck and see what happens after we've raised it a bit. So that's being a bit stubborn. I'm going to show what it looks like when you back the truck up just a touch. And I'm guessing we saw it release just a little bit. Now when we raise it, it's no longer holding on to the truck. We want to go high enough just to where the ball has some space between it and the trailer hitch. So it looks like there's an air gap there. We're not worried about leveling this forward to back yet. I'm just going to pull the truck forward. That just gets the truck out of the way so that there's room to finish the rest of the work. Lets us access the back of the truck bed without that hitting the tongue jack, all sorts of good stuff. So just get the truck out of the way. Now we want to level it forward to back. So it's level side to side. We want to make sure we level it forward to back. So we gotta go find the level. Ta-da! Let's go look inside and see where it stands. I'm going to set this inside on the floor because we want the inside of the RV to be level. And we like to have the right side of the bubble touching the right line, which means that the front of the trailer is a little higher because our bed is right here. And that means our head would be above our body a little bit so the blood doesn't rush to our brains. And that looks pretty good if our level works. See, it's just touching the right. I actually might bring the front down a little because that's a little extreme, but it's pretty level. So let's bring the front down just a bit and see where we are. All right, that's more within the line, so I'm happy with that. Clean up as you go along. This is Bob. He's the protector of our campsite, so he stands watch. The trailer's now level front to back, so we're going to put some stuff away. Do what I say, not what I do. Put this away. We don't want to have to get a fourth one. And while we're at it, did you know that in some states it's illegal to leave your hitch on while you drive around the city? We did not know that until recently, so it's a good idea to take your hitch off anyway so that when you are in parking lots, it's a good idea to take your hitch off anyway so that when you're in parking lots, it's easier to park without someone, hitting the back of your hitch. So it's just safer, but it's also illegal not to, apparently. We'll just leave that there. Our trailer's now level front to back, so let's stabilize it, because if you're in there right now and you jump up and down, it's gonna be pretty bouncy because it's just sitting on those rubber wheels. RVs have things called stabilizers. We like to use these leveling blocks underneath the stabilizer jacks, but this is a stabilizer jack, and we're going to lower those. It comes with a crank that you can do by hand, but if you get the right bit, you can use a drill. Make fast work of this. They're not meant to carry the entire weight of an RV, so just put enough weight on it to stop it from bouncing. So we gotta go do the other three. I find when the drill stalls out, it's kind of enough weight on these. But if it's still bouncy, you can hand crank it a couple times. Right under. Wyoming is a dry state. North Dakota is a humid state. Look at these cool upgrades. Pretty awesome. All right, this is the last stabilizer jack. That got some lift. So there's only one more thing that I'd want to do right now from my checklist to help Jess be able to start getting the inside ready. Right now she could pull the slide out, but I want to give her electricity too so she can get the AC running, and Tommy and Winston and Louie would probably appreciate that. So let's get the electrical set up. So you find the correct outlet, make sure the breaker is on. Sometimes they'll be off and then you may not get any power until you turn it on. So plug in. We have a surge protector. A certain combination of lights, LEDs, shows if the power is correct. It is. So we're ready to plug into our trailer. I'm gonna turn it off and plug into our trailer. Some things work on battery, Some things only work on electrical, so we're making sure we have everything plugged in. Good. Turn on the power. Now I'll start setting up the other stuff that's remaining on the checklist, which is propane. We don't leave our propane on, so it's time to turn on the propane tank. We have a dual system, turning on the one we've been using. These are pretty cool, these dual systems. There's a little bar in there. You can't see it, but I can feel it. It's pointing to this tank. If this tank runs out, all you do is move that bar over to point towards that tank, and then you'd open this tank. And then you have an empty propane bottle and a full one, and you can replace this anytime, before this one gets empty. So you can never be out of propane if you use this system correctly. So the travel trailer is detached from the tow vehicle. I think we did a good job unhitching, and I know you will too.
Visit travelingwithterriers.com for all of our top 5 videos. Plus, download a free PDF of this top 5. Thanks for watching and happy traveling.